Okay.
Presidential nomination in 2024 can do so if he chooses from the comfort of his Senate seat. That's because tonight Cotton will win re-election, easily beating a Libertarian challenger, Ricky Dale Harrington. Okay,
That's interesting. Arkansas has the Libertarian as the second candidate.
That seems to be going Donald
Really
Trump's
weird.
way.
Okay.
Again, 29 electoral votes in for Florida, 88% of the precincts in. And if you look at the map, it keeps on populating. But the separation here could get to 3 points. If you look at some of these counties, for example, Palm Beach County, and obviously the president calls that home. 56-43, and just look back at 2016, what the spread was, 57-42. So it's kind of tracking there. But some of these other counties in the I-4 corridor, you see Donald Trump running up the lead. And I think we might be getting close on Florida because the Trump people rightly said that they felt comfortable with it without the panel. Chris, thoughts?
Well, Hillary Clinton lost by 1.2% in Florida back in 2016. If the current trend continues, Donald Trump will have a bigger victory. He'll have a bigger victory than that than I ever did.
Donald Trump will have a bigger victory. He'll have a bigger victory than that than I ever did.
And North Carolina and that march up the Atlantic coast. You know, it's fascinating. Let me also say, though, on Florida, it was almost a must-win state for Donald Trump. I think almost any projection of Trump winning tonight, he had to win the 29 electoral votes from in Florida. Biden doesn't do that, and Rose wasn't really counting on it, but hopes to win it. And certainly he campaigned hard. He sent Barack Obama down there on Monday. So it'll be a disappointment for him, but it isn't a killer the way it would have been had the president lost Florida. You know, I'm looking at our Fox News opinion analysis, and there's some numbers in here that seem to bode very ill for Donald Trump. And when you ask people, are conditions in this country right direction or wrong direction? 62% wrong direction, 38% right direction. When you ask me what's the single most important issue, it's the economy, overwhelmingly 79-19 for Trump. If you think it's the coronavirus, 74-25 for Biden, and more people, a lot more people think the coronavirus is a bigger issue. So that would seem to indicate that Joe Biden has been winning Florida, and it looks now, we're not calling it, but it looks like Biden might well lose. And I'm thinking why. Part of it, I think, Tucker put his finger on that maybe people are frightened of Biden. And, you know, particularly with the talk about socialism, you have Cuban Americans, Venezuelan Americans. President in Florida hit those hard. He's going to turn it into another Castro Cuba. He's going to turn it into another Maduro Chavez Venezuela. I think that's had an impact. I think just that, you know, in the end, some people just feel more comfortable with Donald Trump as the leader over the next 4 years than with Joe Biden. And then I think something else we haven't talked about enough tonight, ground game. The Trump organization has had an enormous ground game, and just as the president has campaigned in front of a lot of people, they have had people, millions of people, knocking on doors and doing the old-fashioned kind of blocking and tackling of campaigning. The Biden campaign, just as Joe Biden didn't go out and meet with a lot of people and hold big rallies, the Biden campaign was doing a lot more of it virtually and on the phone. And it could conceivably be, at least in Florida, that the old-fashioned way of knocking on doors and neighbors, getting neighbors to go out and vote, may be the difference.
Yeah, and just a couple other things to point out here. I'm going to get Rich to weigh in on this. Looking at these voter analysis in Florida, would you say that Joe Biden is a strong leader? 3% say yes. Would you say that Donald Trump is a strong leader? And you've got 86% of those who say yes to that going with President Trump. Same kind of breakdown that we're seeing in honest and trustworthy. President Trump did not fare well on that, didn't fare well on it in 2016, and yet it looks like people are leaning in his direction regardless of that. They think Joe Biden is very honest and trustworthy, but a strong leader seems to be more important.
That says something what people now expect politically.
Really?
That's where they wouldn't necessarily be a big number. By the way, folks, this hark back to 4 years ago, we talked about this on this night.
Here we go.
We've got a minor shift in the betting odds, which were well up over 65% Biden. Now it's 59.2 to 40. So at least some people who have money on the line have begun to think that Mr. Trump has a better chance than they did for many, many, many weeks. The betting average didn't move at all. So a couple other things, Martha. We've talked about the gender gap. Women outnumber men in this country 50.5% to 49.5%. That's been true for some years now. In this electorate, according to our voter analysis poll, or what are we calling it, it's 53-46 in this electorate. Women over men. And Joe Biden winning that cohort by 18 percentage points. Of course, that's the national number, so that doesn't say about much about the battleground states or anything like that. And it's something to keep an eye on tonight because women are.
And we are.
You guys are the majority, Martha, and even more so in this election.
And we are seeing the gap in women that was expected. That seems to be showing up in a lot of these states as well. So actually, I'm just going to, and New Hampshire, because we haven't called that yet, right? We're waiting on it until earlier. Well, one of the things there is Britt has pointed out, women going at 51% with 48, but closer than people, but going from 5 to 61 to 37. And New Hampshire is one of those states that from the beginning, President Trump only lost a tiny amount in 2,700 votes. So that was one of the things that they could have picked up. And the way things get a little tight here, and you need 4 electoral college votes to get you to 270, there is that. I also wanted to point out on Florida, I think the fact that the president went back over and over again, he never tired of going there. He would hold rallies a Chris mentioned
Okay. It's fun.
voters Republicans got over the Democrats in Florida. It was a really big deal. I also think that the handling of Governor DeSantis of COVID seems to go well with how they handle the economy. When President Trump 2 years ago said America will never be a socialist country, and then he went back over and again to the Cubans, to the Venezuelans, and it's not like we don't have like real-time examples of what's happening in Venezuela, because we do. The other thing is, you have to remember the vote parades. And I saw,
I knew
that
in
was
Pennsylvania.
confusing. People were trying to figure out,
Nah,
okay,
pretty
we
much
can't
the
gather
same.
large groups, but how can we show our enthusiasm? And
Okay.
maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, I mean,
Here we have it.
Yeah.
Let's open up the chat. See what's up. Okay.
It's about 17
Okay.
was Latino, and you see among Latino men it's 59-39 Latino women who are 9% majority, Latino 64-33. So Biden wins, but the margin of victory is markedly less than what we saw going back to 2016. In that time we saw Clinton winning 62% of Latino men, 68% Latino women. What we're seeing today, again, it's Biden 59.
Hello, everyone. I have up on the screen 2 states that probably need to take the closest look at right now. We got Georgia and we got Pennsylvania. Okay. If you're in the chat, feel free to call into the show. You know what I'm saying? Keep it interesting. I want to hear some opinions from the political pundits that I have. The data I have suggests that I'm going to make a call right now. I think Trump wins Florida. Mr. Fresh Savage polling numbers are showing that that's probably going to be the case. I'm going to make that call right now, a little bit earlier than I think most of the news agencies are, but the other states are really too early to make any call or any sort of decisive decision yet. So yeah, it's hype. Yeah, we're getting ready to watch this election go down. Is definitely the best news service. No doubt in my mind. I don't think there's doubt in anybody's mind. I do not think we're going to know the president tonight because I think it's going to come down to Pennsylvania, and they are going to be very slow. All I'm saying is I correctly predicted the last election. Like, really close, actually. To be fair, I was probably more biased last time, but now I've learned to take in all the data, you know? And now I'm seeing on my television screen that Texas has about 48% of the vote in, Biden with a 2% lead. And I'm not sure how Texas is actually counting their votes, and I'm actually going to look at that. Texas, do early votes get counted first? Okay. Let's see what New York Times has to say about it.
And today, Trump has been winning that county with about 90% of the vote in 5 million, but 2-1, significantly above where he was 4 years ago. I suspect that in part they sign up the movement in.
I imagine they probably are counting early votes first, either that or the kind of large city areas are going to, you know, be coming in first because, I mean, at the beginning it showed Biden with a very large lead in Texas, and I definitely don't think that's the case. I don't think he's up by like 30%. Let's take a look at Texas, actually. Yeah, Pennsylvania always ruining everything. I know. They ruined the Ravens game the other day. That's not cool. Cannot be having that. Oh, I just typed in Pennsylvania again. Texas election results. Why always got to be ruining everything? Okay, so Texas, we have a very tight race with 51% reporting. And it looks like Dallas, Houston, San Antonio have all started reporting votes right now. So we'll see how that is. Approximately 7 million votes cast thus far. I'd say Texas is still too early to call, but I'd say leans Trump right now, even though Biden currently has the lead with the early vote coming in first and those cities beginning to report at this point. I think that suggests that Donald Trump is in a strong position to hold on to Texas, but we will see. I'm definitely not able to make a call right now. I'd say if I had to guess, Biden does not win Texas, but we'll see. It's a lot of different things right now. Look at this bot in our group chat saying, "What news are you watching?" I'm watching CNN, not the news network you need to be watching. You need to watch Fresh's news network, FNN, okay? And that's a fact, okay?
Watching as these results come in. John, what's the mood with the campaign tonight?
Yeah, FNN. It's very exciting. Yeah, well, it's fun too because I get to talk with friends. It's better than the TV. Make the call. What call do you want me to make? Who's winning? Ooh, it is really tough to make that call right now. I can't say because it's going to come down to Pennsylvania. the fact that Donald Trump won Florida, I wasn't surprised by. So I really don't know. I'm going to wait till I see Arizona. I want to see Michigan come in. I want to see Wisconsin. If Wisconsin and Michigan are close, and even if Biden wins them, I think Pennsylvania is going to be more pro-Trump than those two states. So I think if those are close, then Trump is going to win. But I can definitely not make a call right now because, I mean, from all the polling data, it suggested that Michigan was way out of reach for Donald Trump. Wisconsin, 6-point Biden lead last that I saw, I think. So, yeah, it's an exciting election day. Not much of the vote coming in yet. Popular vote right now is 50% Trump, 49% Biden. We're going to see that change pretty quickly throughout the night. I mean, as soon as California comes in, Biden's going to take get probably a 3-4 point jump in the popular vote just as soon as that state alone comes in. So we will see there. Georgia looking increasingly like it's probably going to go to Trump, but I'm still not willing to make a call yet. If California went red, that would be pretty crazy. I give that a less than 1% chance of happening. That would be my guess. Cali goes red, Texas goes blue. Yeah, that would be interesting, that's for sure. You know what would be really interesting? Okay? Now this is a very interesting scenario. Okay, Ohio is, I can't see what percent of the vote is in there, but it looked like it was tightening up a little bit, so we'll pay attention to Ohio in a little bit, but I want to see, is Arizona? Okay, Arizona is going to be 9 p.m. Central Time, which is where I am, so another 12 minutes before Arizona starts coming in. Here we go. Okay, so this is 2020 nightmare scenario, okay? We're going to put Florida red, Texas red, Georgia red, North Carolina red, South Carolina red. Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District is going to go blue. We'll say Arizona goes red, Michigan, Wisconsin, sorry, what am I doing putting Minnesota blue? Minnesota red, yikes. Minnesota blue, basically, let's say Ohio goes red, and Maine's Congressional District goes red. What am I missing? Iowa. Iowa goes red. That is nightmare scenario 2020. Very possible. And that is actually surprisingly possible, and that would not be very good. Or let's say, I don't know, any of these states switch around that are worth exactly 10 electoral votes. So, gosh, what's the one I'm thinking of? Maybe I'm not. Okay, this is a nightmare scenario because, no, the Supreme Court does not vote, okay? What happens is the House of Representatives, yeah, they vote on the president. But it's not actually each representative gets one vote. Each representative from each state gets to vote for who their state votes for. So all of the California representatives get together and they vote and likely would say, okay, we're going to vote for Joe Biden. And California gets one vote as a state. Okay? So then every state gets one vote, equally represented. And if there's a tie, they literally just keep voting until they find a winner. And the Senate actually chooses the vice president. So I guess you could theoretically have a Donald Trump presidency, Joe Biden vice presidency, and a Joe Biden presidency with a Donald Trump vice presidency. That would be very, very weird. Biden Pence, you could have Biden Trump is the funny thing. That's the crazy thing.
One day, we'll look back and remember all the things once strange that in our lives.
Biden Trump 2020, it would be so funny. Oh my gosh. That's like the end of the world right there. What? That's such a 2020 thing, you know?
Remember this time when so many struggled to look to the future where everyone can. Because when the world seems like it's standing still, that's the perfect time.
Yep. It would be definitely very interesting. All right, I need some guests to call in to make this interesting. You know, I want to hear some opposing opinions. I want to hear what you guys think about the race, how it's going right now, you know? Let's see some people join in.
The SEPA is clearly different. First and only FDA approved. Celebrate less risk. Even close the family history.
Who's Connor Anderson?
Any active ingredient in placebo. Serious side effects may occur, like heart-rhythm problems or bleeding.
Don't know who Connor Anderson is, but we'll see.
Cardiovascular risk. Tell your doctor if you experience irregular heartbeat or other heart-rhythm problems, possible side effects include muscle and joint pain.
Get Cyber Slayer 28. I think we do need Cyber Slayer 28.
Cardio protection. Talk to your doctor about adding.
He loves Trump, I imagine. Yeah, Ben George, if you were in here, you would know that I've already called the Florida race. You know, my news network, Fresh's news network. We've called it. Yep, I called the Florida race. We have a guest for the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Me?
Welcome. Who do you think is going to win the election? Yeah.
Who's watching?
Basically all my friends from back home. That's pretty much it.
Me right now.
They can hear you right now. I know, right?
Hold on, I'm gonna give a hot take.
Yeah, we need a hot take. Okay, joining me here at the University of Alabama is a political correspondent from Wisconsin, one of the key battleground states of this election, and he's here for a hot take. This is Quinn Nears Wiki. Everyone give him a round of applause.
All right, hey there, Chris. Yeah, it's me, Quinn, from Wisconsin, and it's a lovely state up there. You should really come up sometime and come by my place, and we can make some burgers and brats. It'll be a good time. Anyways, so we're looking at this election, and it's a wild year, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and so I think right now we're seeing things start to turn out, but you got to remember, right, with the increase in mail-in votes, things are going to be looking real sloppy tonight, so we won't have a real good idea of how things are looking, and I think you're going to have a lot of votes from the elderly, the more rural people, and of course also college students who are going to be coming in a little later, I think, and so because of that, obviously you're going to see some red votes that won't be counted until later, but you're also going to see, I think, some of them blue votes that won't come in until a little later.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah.
So I think specifically in Pennsylvania, you're going to see those blue votes come in a little bit late because they're new to the whole mail-in system. So if you did not hear, the Florida race has been called here on Fresh News Network. We have called the state of Florida for Donald Trump because I have done that. Yeah. It's as you can see, it was looking very close. Donald Trump is up by 2 percentage points in Florida with the panhandle left to vote. So it appears as if Donald Trump will be taking Florida. How do you feel about that?
You know, this is funny because I have to be completely politically neutral, right? Because you know, my home state of Wisconsin is a swing state in itself, so I will get burned at the stake if I actually reveal any personal beliefs of mine. So what I will say is I think that Florida was a really big. I think that's a big state to take.
Yeah, I think that is a big one. I tend to agree with that. Here we have the North Carolina race going on. We see it on our TV screen, and I'll bring it up for you guys in a second back at home. Looks like Biden is up 51.9% to Trump 47%, with 73% of the vote in. Now, we'll have to take a look at some of the counting breakdowns there, and whether or not the early vote came in first or second. So that will be an interesting race to take a look at. So yeah, how do you feel about the overall state? Do you have any predictions for the night?
Well, I would say that my first prediction is that no matter what happens at the end of this, we'll all be Americans unless we have a civil war, in which case some of us will no longer be Americans. And for those of you, I say, hope. Yes.
Very good. Very, very interesting take.
Yeah.
A very open.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's Quinn Nearswick.
Whoa there, pal. Let's calm down a little there. I don't know about that. Why there?
Quinn Nearswick from Wisconsin, political correspondent. Thank you for your time tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course.
I love to give absolutely no input whatsoever on the current issues of the time.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, well, there you have it, folks. Quinn Nearswick from Wisconsin.
It's not queer.
He's a very active Wisconsin voter. He voted, which is as active as you can get as a Wisconsin voter. I actually voted with Mr. Nearswick at the mail-in ballot box. Okay, very cool. All right, so here we have the Ohio presidential race, which I'm going to pull up, because it looks like Georgia is swinging pretty heavily at the moment towards Donald Trump. We'll check in with that race a little bit later, but as you can see on the screen here, we have about 33% of the state reporting Trump with approximately 14-point lead right now over Biden, with about 900,000 votes to Biden's 700,000. We're going to pull up Ohio. Yeah, unfortunately, my other Wisconsin political correspondent will not be joining us tonight, at least for the foreseeable future. We may have him in later as a little surprise. So we will find out. Here we have Ohio. 55% reporting, 54% for Joe Biden, 44.8% for Donald Trump. It will be interesting to see as the in-person votes start coming in from Ohio, how that vote changes, as the early vote was counted first in Ohio. So it appears as if we have pretty much all the counties reporting, but as more of the vote comes in, we will have a clearer idea of what's going on with Ohio. So can't really say anything about Ohio at this point, but it is looking like it is going to be a very close race, with Biden currently holding about a 9-point lead there. So yeah, there we go. We are going to try and get some new information. The next polls close in approximately 20 seconds, so we will start hearing from states such as Arizona, more West Coast states, and that's going to be very interesting to hear. Let's try and talk to some more people. I'm going to try and get in contact with my Florida political correspondent from Tampa. We'll see if he is able to call in from the Sunshine State. Here we go. Crucial battlegrounds for whoever will win the White House. Start tonight with Arizona. I think they can make a great president. Yep, we gotta cut to. Unfortunately, I can't cut to commercial, so I just have this really weird dead air time. We need to hear from our Florida correspondent, who I'm trying to get in contact with right now. Let's see.
Texas. Democrats have been trying to turn Texas blue for several presidential cycles. A win by Joe Biden tonight.
Here we go.
Devastating to Trump's campaign. The Trump campaign thinks they can pull that out in Texas.
Hello. Hello. Joining us from the Sunshine State, Alex McKay. How are you doing, Alex? Welcome to Fresh News Network. This is the inaugural event of the Fresh News Network, and it looks like things are going interestingly down where you are in Florida. Do you have any comments on how things were? How were things down in Tampa?
In what way?
Politically, like, what's the mood down there? I don't know.
It feels pretty normal. I mean, you see all these other cities like boarding up and everything, but from what I've seen, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Not like that.
Down
Okay.
here, no.
So no militancy thus far in the Sunshine State.
Not really. It seems pretty chill.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, nothing too crazy down here in Tampa.
Nothing too crazy right now.
Yeah, just crazy traffic.
Yeah. That's not so great to hear. Let's get some questions from the chat for our representative from the Sunshine State, from Sam Von Hagen. This guy sucks.
Sam Von Hagen, please give me a question instead of just commenting.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. Perhaps you could rephrase it as, why does this guy suck?
Yeah, seriously, please. No one wants to give me any questions.
They don't want to give you any questions. Well, we here at the Fresh News Network have called the state of Florida for Donald Trump. What is your feeling about that?
I thought it was very interesting. Everyone's talking about how well he did in Miami, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Okay, good to hear.
But I can't say that I'm completely surprised.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's great
So,
to.
yeah, that's my opinion on it so far.
What do you think's going to happen with Pennsylvania? Obviously, you and I both just despise the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, how do you feel about Pennsylvania?
Yeah, Pennsylvania, they're making us wait. They don't like Pennsylvania, but I think it's gonna go blue.
You think Pennsylvania's going to go blue? Okay.
I think it is.
Bold prediction. Do you think that swings the election?
I think if it does, then I think it's going to be very, very close.
Okay. That's very good to hear. So, from my calculations, it seems like, to me, if the president were to lose Pennsylvania, he'd have to flip either Michigan or Wisconsin, from what the early polls are indicating are more safe Biden states. What do you feel about that?
I think it's definitely doable.
Okay.
I would say he has more of a shot of winning one of those than winning Pennsylvania.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's kind of a hot take. Very interested to hear that. Any predictions for the final outcome?
Final outcome, I still see it as Trump barely.
Okay. So you predict the president will win the election?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Barely, though.
okay. Well, thank you for joining us, our political correspondent from the Sunshine State of Florida. Give him a round of applause.
Round of applause, everyone. Thanks, Christopher.
Yeah, of course. Have a good evening.
Keep watching.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Well, there you have it, folks. The political correspondent from the Sunshine State of Florida. We're going to have to try and get some more callers with some differing opinions, you know. So far, we've heard our Sunshine State correspondent indicate that he thinks that the president is going to get a victory without the state of Pennsylvania and carrying either Wisconsin or Michigan. I tend to think that's unlikely, but it's certainly a possibility seeing some of the polling numbers. We're going to try and contact our political representative from the state of Maryland, okay? We're going to try and get some of them.
Well, now, Chris.
Mr. Nierswicki.
Yeah, it's me again. Can I just say, based on his personal theories, right, that Trump could take Wisconsin and Minnesota, I don't know that that's that likely, right? You know, it's certainly possible, but I think given a lot of the events of this past year, we've seen there's a definite strong liberal majority that's speaking out, especially in those urban areas.
Okay, well, that's interesting to hear from someone who's in Wisconsin, so they're on the ground for most of his life, really, until the past several months, you know, until he moved down here to the Fresh News Network headquarters in Alabama. So, very exciting. Thank you for your take. And it looks like Ohio is getting slightly closer with approximately a roughly 7-point margin between the president and former Vice President Joe Biden. So we will keep a close eye on the Ohio race, as that is going to be a very crucial one for both the president and former vice president to win. Here we have an overall view of what the map looks like right now. Joe Biden carrying 119 electoral votes, and Donald Trump with 92 electoral votes at the moment. We will make sure to keep you guys updated on that for a while. Every once in a while, check in on the overall state of the race. Right now, the vice president winning by 27 electoral votes. And yeah, so it's exciting. We're going to find out more as it keeps going.
And now, a message from our sponsors. All right, do you guys ever have it in the winter where it snows so much and then you lose your cows because they're all white and you have to look for the spots in between all the snow? Well, I got a new product for you. It's called the Bovine Blower, right? And this thing is an honest-to-God work of art. So what it is it's a snow blower with one of them cattle things you see on the front of the trains, right? So that your cows don't get all shredded up in your snow blower, right? And it's a real honest to God lifesaver. So yeah, all of you go out and buy that.
Thank you from our sponsor, it's Bovine Blower. Go ahead and take a look at it. Not sure if they're real or not. We'll find out more. I'm trying to get in contact with some more of our political correspondents, see some other opinions. But as of right now, we're just kind of hanging out and waiting for more results to come in. Kind of a downtime at the moment. We're going to probably start seeing results from Arizona relatively soon. I want to take, in the meantime, another look at the state of Texas to see what has changed there, if any more data has come in. Okay, here we have the state of Texas, where things have tightened significantly. Now with approximately 57% of the vote in, we have a very tight race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Joe Biden with a very slight lead, 49.6% to 49.1% for the president, approximately a 30,000 vote gap. It looks as if this is going to go to Donald Trump, but it's too early to make a call there. But the polling would suggest that it's headed in that direction at the very least. Looks like we got a quick little update with a few more votes coming in, and that actually narrowed the gap to a 24,000 vote gap in the state of Texas. Now it's interesting to compare this year, something that I've seen at least in several states, the support for third-party candidates such as the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. Whereas in 2016, the candidates for these parties garnered a lot of support. It seems as if that's not going to be as much of a factor with the Libertarian Party, at least in the state of Texas, only receiving 1% of the vote, where typically that's a state where they would receive a little bit more of that. And the Green Party only receiving 0.3% in Texas. No surprise there, folks. Not a very green party in Texas. And that actually relates to one of the things that makes me believe that Texas is probably going to go to the president, and that was the statement that the vice president made during the final presidential debate about ending the oil industry. I think that probably solidified the state for the president, and that kind of sealed the deal there. We will make sure to keep you updated on that. It appears as if I have a political correspondent who may want to call in. So I'm going to try and get in contact with that person, and we're going to find out. Let's see. All right, we are trying to make contact with our political correspondent from the state of Maryland, which has been called for former Vice President Joe Biden. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Mr. Fresh.
How are you, Mr. Von Hagen?
I'm good. I'm sitting here with my fellow correspondent, Zach.
Oh, very cool.
Like everyone else, watching the Fresh live stream. We got some news on too.
Yep. Yep, of course. Yep. That's exciting. So, what do you think of the current state of the race?
Well, I'll tell you, the turnout this year is much more than it's been before. It's hard to compare those numbers with this big turnout. We got some of the voters in states like North Carolina who have already surpassed the turnouts last year, and not even all the votes are collected yet. So it's interesting. I think anything can happen, especially these states like North Carolina and Ohio and Texas.
Yeah, and it's definitely, and it's interesting you brought up North Carolina. So I'm gonna pull that up on my screen right now because North Carolina is seen as a very important state for both Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. And right now, with approximately 80% of the vote reporting, it appears as if Joe Biden has a roughly 2% lead in the state right now. So we'll see how that progresses throughout the night.
It seems to be lowering though. It seems like it's getting closer and closer as more votes are counted.
Okay. So what do you think for the final prediction for North Carolina? What do you think it's going to be?
Man, I think since it's so much reported already, I think Biden will keep the lead. But again, it's lowering and the gap's getting closer and closer.
Very cool. Very interesting. Well, that's definitely an interesting take on North Carolina, and I tend to agree with you. Looking at the current results with about 80% of the vote in, even though it is getting closer, it's unclear to see how close it's going to be, but I think we all know that either way, whoever wins it, it's going to be incredibly close. So, yeah, definitely.
And then Pennsylvania, too, I'm looking at this right now. It's interesting because I think he did a ton of campaigning there. Trump did, at least. I think he might have done most of his campaigning there. What, Biden? Was that Biden? One of them. But I think that will be one to keep a close eye on. I see a show prediction on Pennsylvania. I think some of the more rural counties I think you're going to have a big role in deciding that winner.
Yeah.
For the Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, that's...
But we don't really have 11%, I believe. So.
Yep, 11% reporting thus far.
Yeah, that would be one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important to look, especially at the, metropolitan areas around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, because I think turnout there is going to be a crucial factor in determining who wins the state of Pennsylvania.
For sure. Now, you were saying Texas. You think president's gonna come ahead on that one?
I do think the president is going to win Texas.
I have to agree with you.
I don't think it's safe enough to call it yet, but I do think that the president is going to win the state of Texas.
I agree with you. Do we know which counties are unreported yet?
Let us take a look at the state of Texas. It looks like a lot of the more rural counties have not reported yet. Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, all reporting thus far. So we shall see.
I think your prediction is right. And yeah, Georgia and Florida, it's a pretty safe bet that Trump's got a good hold on those. I think that is definitely a big help, but I think there's many other ways to swing this election. So very interesting for sure.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting race. It's looking tighter than I think a lot of people expected. And here I'm seeing on my screen, not on this screen, I'll bring it up really quickly, Florida election results 2020. And it looks like with 91% reporting, the president has a roughly 3-point lead in the state of Florida. So it looks like, from my point of view at least, that the president is going to hold on to the state of Florida. And then we'll take a look at Georgia real quick. Yep, 37% reporting, and Trump with a 14-point lead in the state of Georgia. So we will keep an eye on Georgia, but that's what we're looking at right now. Are you at all surprised by the state of Maryland going blue? And what about the president's home district, the District of Columbia? I was really shocked to see that they voted for Joe Biden. Considering the president lives there full time, it seems like... Yeah. Yeah, a little close to home is exactly right. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. Our political correspondent from the state of Maryland, Sam Von Hagen. Thanks so much. Of course, of course. Yep, thank you. Well, there you have it, folks. Our political correspondent from the state of Maryland. And it's definitely interesting. Okay, I'm receiving a phone call. We'll see who this is from. It could be a scammer. Hello. Hello. Oh, very cool. All right, I'm going to put you on speaker. Welcome to the show. You're live.
All right, thanks for having me, Mr. Brett.
Yeah, of course. So, what's your name?
My name is Connor.
Oh, Connor. Welcome. We've had a lot of people really excited to hear from you.
Yeah, man, I mean, this election's kind of crazy considering that, there's rumors saying that if Donald Trump wins, that, there's going to be riots and mass murder, which is just totally false.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of political turmoil going on both sides of the aisle. So we're looking intently at this election. It's looking like it's going to shape up to be pretty close at the moment. What do you think of the current results coming in?
I think of it as, look at the 2016 election. People thought that Donald Trump had no chance of winning, as in none. But yet, look at him now. 3 years later, and the whole press is doing our country a big favor.
Very, very interesting. So, if we take a look at a lot of the polls right now, do you think the president's going to hold on to Georgia?
I mean, the game's not in much still, so it's going to be heavily based on what you're always trying to.
Okay, so he thinks that the game's not over until it's over. So he's not going to make a comment on Georgia. But it looks like the president is winning by 14%. We will continue to keep an eye on that because the cities of Atlanta, Macon, and Augusta, Savannah, they could all change that very quickly. What do you think about the Pennsylvania race right now, Connor?
Pennsylvania, I'm not currently looking at it because, my internet just went down.
Okay, you're not looking at it because your internet went down?
Yeah, can you remind me of voting there so far?
Currently, with about 11% of the vote in, we have Joe Biden with 63% of the vote and Donald Trump with 35% of the vote.
So notice how you said only 11% of the votes, as I was saying before. Anything can happen, Like, there's still 88, or not 88, that's Jesus Christ, 99% of the, or not 99, oh my God, I'm just...
89% of the vote, yep.
89%, thank you. There's still 89% of votes out there yet to be counted, so I mean, surely anything can happen.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. All right, final prediction from you. Who do you think is going to win the presidential race?
Donald J. Trump is going to win the race.
All right, very enthusiastic. Connor, a caller from Maryland. Thank you very much for calling into the show. Have a great night. Thanks. All right, sorry for the poor audio quality there, folks. We're going to try and do the rest through maybe Discord or something because that's probably a little bit better method to get people interested in that because it's better audio quality. And yeah, so there we have it, another political commentary from someone from the state of Maryland. Yeah, it's exciting. Let's hear from our next sponsor.
All right, the next sponsor is Political Gummies. Do you guys absolutely love politicians? No? Do you like chewing on politicians? Maybe? Well, if the jury's still out, I've got news for you. We've got Political Gummies. That's right, all your favorites and least favorites in a bunch of different flavors and colors. And hell yes, these babies taste great. We have Democratic Blue Raspberry and Republican Cherry. And trust me, you will get a kick out of these. Whether it's for, something you just want to have around the office, something you want to snack on while you're watching the election race, Political Gummies are the treat for you.
Thank you to our sponsor, Political Gummies. Again, I'm not sure if they're real, but check them out if you're interested. Gummy bears, they taste good. So I imagine political gummy bears, not too different there. Let's take a look at the overall election again. Florida, 91% of the vote in. Looks like the president has approximately a 4-point lead, up around almost 500,000 votes in Florida. So it looks like he's going to hang on there. Georgia, 42% of the vote, president up by 14%. Looking relatively solid there, counter to a lot of the polling data that was coming in initially. We're going to go check out Real Clear Politics. And we are going to take a look at the different polls for the election. So here we go, election 2020, and we want to find states Trump versus Biden. Here we go. let's see the polling average. In the top battlegrounds, there was approximately a 2.3% gap there. So I want to take us down to Georgia. So hopefully I can find a Georgia poll. Let's see, Georgia. Here we go. We're going to look at the Georgia polls. So the president, at the moment, greatly outperforming the polling, but we'll see if that race tightens at all. The president, at the end, sported a 1-point polling advantage in the state of Georgia. So we'll see if he's able to hold on there, because currently he's greatly outperforming, but we'll have to see as more counties begin to report, more precincts start to finish tallying the votes. Currently 42% reporting and 56.5% going for the President of the United States, and the Vice President garnering 42.5% of that vote. The Libertarian Party, again, coming in third place, strong 1.1% of the vote. It's very impressive from the Libertarian Party, as usual, coming in third. It'll be interesting to see one day if the Green Party were able to overthrow the Libertarian Party as the kind of third place party in American politics. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. You never know. So yeah, everything's looking very interesting right now. So I'm gonna pull us back to all of this. We're going to try and find some more callers. Michael told you to come. Well, welcome Misty Linguini to the chat. We're just looking at the election right now. Not too much to report on at the moment. North Carolina is looking too early to call. In fact, that's what I'm going to bring up right now. North Carolina election results, and we're going to take a look at this. Abby Danner, welcome. Okay, so currently Joe Biden's sporting a 1.6% lead, roughly 70,000 votes separating him and the president in the state of North Carolina. And it appears as if we have Don Blankenship of the Constitution Party in at 0.1% of the vote in North Carolina, making an interesting appearance here in the state. Right now we have about 82% of the vote reported. We will have to see how that shifts, whether it stays the same, whether the vice president hangs on in the state of North Carolina. It's looking like right now the polls are narrowing, but by how much is the real question. So we will find out a little bit later which way the state of North Carolina is going to go. And then we have, of course, Libertarian and Green Party, carrying the torch in the state of North Carolina, looking solid, all under 1% of the vote there. So it looks like North Carolina voted heavily for the two main candidates. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm going to try and get some more callers soon.
Donald Trump obviously is doing very well in Florida on the strength of not just Cuban voters, but also Venezuelan and Colombian and other minority voters, and there's starting to be indication that this.
All right, I will be back in just one moment.
Texas, declining underperforming in Ohio and Georgia in these minority communities. It is really stunning that it is Donald Trump, someone that the media painted as racist, racial demagogue, who is managing this transformation of the Republican Party toward a more multiracial, working-class party. And regardless of what the eventual outcome is tonight, that's something that Republican strategists have to be thinking long and hard about. The way that Donald Trump has been able to get more.
Looks like we were unable to reach our next political correspondent, so I'm going to leave you guys in silence for a while. Commence long period of dead air.
Republicans, some supporters say not only was he running against Joe Biden, but he was running against the pitch for me over 3+ years, kind of really back and forth. Your thoughts about this race, where it stands, and kind of that fight?
You know, I spent the last week in Pennsylvania talking to a lot of Republicans who are Hispanic and other minority voters. I mean, that's a very, very big deal for them. It's kind of alarming that some of the people who are in the RNC very oppose President Trump very strongly. Nonetheless, this is something the Republican Party has been trying to do for a long time. And in addition to all of that, health is as well.
Well, I think that is another issue that has been a very important thing for the Biden campaign push and also many people in the media. I think it is interesting that you were talking about the feeling that Trump is running not just against Joe Biden, but the media. There were so many different ways that the media assisted the Joe Biden campaign throughout.
Welcome to the live stream. I'm back for a little bit, probably not too long. We're trying to figure out how to order pizza. Very cool. So yeah, we're looking at North Carolina 83% in. Very tight race there. Georgia 45% in. President seems to have a pretty substantial lead there. We'll see if he hangs on. Florida, looks like the president is going to hold on in Florida. Approximately a 300,000 vote lead right now. We'll see if that changes drastically. Keep an eye on Miami-Dade County, but I believe very strongly that the president's probably going to hold on in Florida. Pennsylvania seems to be tightening as more of the vote comes in. Approximately 14% is in. So that's very interesting. Right now, Maryland, 3% of the votes in. Biden with 40% of the vote. Trump with 53%. Obviously, with 3% of the vote in, it's not a lot. And we all know that Maryland's going to vote for Biden. So, rip Maryland, I guess. Your vote didn't really count for too much. Electoral college, yay. So there's a few Senate races that are going on that are relatively important too, because for the Republicans, it could either mean maintaining a Senate majority during a presidential administration of the opposite party, or for the Democrats, it could mean that if they win both the presidency and claim 4 seats in the Senate, they could go up significantly in what they could do to pass in the way of passing various laws, getting stuff done that support their policies. I just saw recently that in the state of Texas, the president has actually taken the lead. In the state of Ohio, the president is now down by only 1.2% with approximately 50% of the vote in. That gap is narrowing faster and faster as the vote continues to come in. The current count is Biden 129, Trump 90, I believe, for the overall election. Let's take a look. So there we have 92. 122 to 92. The president currently ahead by about 900,000 votes in the popular vote. Again, we will see that change very quickly as the state of California comes in. But right now, vote for sports betting in MD. Yeah, so that was actually an interesting thing on the ballot that came up in Maryland. As a Maryland voter myself, I did vote to allow for gambling on sports in the county of Anne Arundel. So that's something I voted for. I think it helps to stimulate the county economy, and that's a very good thing to see. Yeah, I don't really know why they wouldn't vote for it either. It's been very good for the economy in Anne Arundel County, and I think it's good for the state's economy in general. So, yeah, I'm very much in support of that. And it looks like the president has actually widened his popular vote lead at the moment. Again, don't expect that to last. We have some early reports in from Michigan and Wisconsin. 18% reporting. Wisconsin is currently favoring the president by approximately 9%. And the state of Michigan is favoring the president by 17% with 20% of the vote in. So we will see how that shifts, whether early votes came in first or second. We will have to find out. See what's going to happen there. So it'll be interesting. Keep an eye on those two states. And it's actually interesting. If you look at the race right now, our political correspondent from Florida has actually called these states right, with the president losing Pennsylvania, yet winning Michigan and Wisconsin. We'll see if that continues to be the case, but could be some wisdom coming from the Sunshine State, you know? So we'll make sure to keep an eye on those states. We'll see if that changes. But yeah, thank you to our political correspondent from the state of Florida. I think the most important state for the president to be watching right now is the state of North Carolina. 83% of the vote in, down by 1.2%, but only 50,000 votes separating him and the former vice president. That is a very, very close race, no matter what metric you're looking at it from. And as more of the vote is coming in, the president is tightening that race. So we'll see if Joe Biden holds on. It looks like he may at this point, but it is definitely too early to call, with almost 20% of the vote still out. So yeah. Let's take a look at, let's try and refresh this. We're seeing any results from the state of Arizona. None yet. That's going to be an interesting state to watch, state of Arizona. Texas, the president is leading in Texas with 64% of the vote reporting. My prediction is that that will continue to widen and that the president will win the state of Texas. Donald Trump in Florida with a relatively commanding lead of around 400,000 votes. So we'll see how Florida goes. It's my prediction that the president is going to win Florida. Georgia with now almost 50% reporting. The president with a roughly 300,000 vote lead, 56% to 42% there. So we'll keep an eye on Georgia, but it's looking like the president is going to have a pretty substantial lead unless something big happens in the major metropolitan areas within the state of Georgia. Kansas, right now, actually shaping up to be a very close race with 62%. A lot of people probably didn't see that coming, including myself, but that's likely due to the early vote coming in, as Joe Biden was well ahead, and now as more of the vote is coming, it is now a 0.5 point race. Okay, we got someone from Arizona. In the past, the central parts of Arizona typically go red, whilst North and South go blue. I would predict it goes blue due to the publicity across Arizona. Okay, so that's an interesting thought from one of our viewers from the state of Arizona. It's very exciting to hear from people from all across the country. So we will keep an eye on the state of Arizona. It is a swing state this election, and if the vice president were to win it, that would definitely be a big gain for him. So if we take a look at the state of Minnesota, a state that the president said he might be able to flip, I have my doubts about that. Currently with 10% of the vote in, Biden 64.8%, Donald Trump with 33.4% of that vote. Again, it looks like the early vote is coming in first for Minnesota. We may be able to take a closer look, and it looks like the Minneapolis area is also reporting at the moment. So that will be likely a blue part of the state, and we will see. In my opinion, Minnesota is going to go blue. I don't see really any way for the president to win the state of Minnesota. I think he's got a far greater chance in a state like Wisconsin or, Michigan. Sorry, I forgot your name. The glove state. Here in Wisconsin, we have some interesting things going on. Kenosha currently supporting the president at the moment. Madison going blue as expected. Milwaukee blue as expected. Green Bay area swinging towards the president right now, not the former vice president. So we will have to keep an eye on that. 23% reporting president winning by 6% in the state of Wisconsin. We will see how that changes throughout the night. If the vice president is able to close that gap, which I suspect he will, at least to an extent. I predicted initially that Joe Biden would win the state of Wisconsin, and I stand by that. We will see as the stuff... Sure. And looks like we might have a caller coming in from Wisconsin. Perfect. State we're talking about. Okay, so this is interesting. Several news organizations have revoked the calling of Virginia for Joe Biden. With 50% of the vote in, the president has a 12-point lead, a 12-point lead in the state of Virginia. So we will see. Likely, the former vice president is going to hold on to Virginia. I really don't see that going to the president. But with 47% of the vote in, the president does have a 12-point lead, and several news agencies have actually revoked the calling of that state for the vice president. So that's interesting. Not something you often see, because they typically call a state when they are very sure that is the case. I still think that the former vice president is going to win there, but the president currently has a roughly 250,000 vote lead there in that state. It's just kind of an anomaly you don't typically see too often there. Let's take a look at the state of Michigan. Michigan, as expected, very red except around the more urban areas. Detroit is blue. I don't think anybody really saw that going any other way. So we will see as the vote comes in more from there. With just over 1 million votes coming in from Michigan, the president has a 17-point lead in the state of Michigan. We'll see if that changes over the night. I predict the vice president is going to close that gap pretty rapidly. Again, I believe that the former vice president, Joe Biden, will win the state of Michigan. But we will see how that goes. Yeah, so it's a very exciting night, and according to the Fox News probability meter, the president now has a 95% chance of winning the state of Florida with the current results that we have in. And here we have a caller from Madison, Wisconsin. Hello.
Hey there.
How's it going?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. That's good to hear. How's the great state of Wisconsin doing right now?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. That's good to hear.
Right. What was that?
That's good to hear. I'm glad Wisconsin's doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, a little cold, but that's to be expected.
Yep, that is to be expected from Wisconsin. Yes. So how's the political climate in Wisconsin? Things.
It's a little challenging. I've noticed a couple things just from being around that it's a little divisive being a swing state with, and especially with being around various friend groups and stuff. I don't usually discriminate and don't block people out based on their political views. So I've got a lot of different friends that have different opinions. So you hear a lot of different sides, and everyone seems to be very strongly opinionated and strongly divided here. And when I go out on runs, you see all these signs in people's yards. You go from one yard, one neighbor's got this sign, and the next neighbor's strongly against that other neighbor. It's kind of weird to see. It's kind of a political battleground state. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And as expected, Wisconsin is looking like it's going to be very close. The president right now, with about 25% of the vote in, is up by about 8% as of right now. But I expect that gap to kind of close a little bit. What do you think, being there in the state?
I think it'll also change. It's hard to say because I know a lot of predictions have gone with Biden winning Wisconsin, but that also kind of happened in 2016 too, where they overestimated the ability of the Democratic Party to win a lot of these states, and Trump kind of surprised everyone. So I'm a little hesitant to go too far into it and say like, oh yeah, that's definitely going to happen. But from what I've heard and what I've seen from most people around, Biden seems to be the favorite candidate here. But I can't say for sure. But I don't know, like with it being a weird election year and having the mail-in votes coming in later, and having people voting in today, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to end up.
Yeah. Well, very interesting. Thank you for your take on the state of Wisconsin. Now, if we, I'm going to pull your attention over to perhaps not your area of expertise, but the state of North Carolina, viewed by many as a must-win for the president if he wants to win re-election. That state is increasingly narrowing its vote. There's currently a 19,000 vote gap separating the president and former vice president in the state of North Carolina. As more votes have come in, the president has caught up, but currently we have about 86% reporting. Again, though, only 19,000 votes separating the two candidates. Do you see Joe Biden holding on there, or do you think that the president is going to pull ahead in the state of North Carolina?
I won't lie, though it's not my area of expertise. This one kind of surprised me a little bit because I did see kind of that belt of Republican states staying with Trump. So North Carolina switching over did surprise me a little bit, though I know Joe Biden did campaign a lot in North Carolina to try and win it over. I don't know if he can hold on to this. I'm very interested to see how this plays out.
Okay, thank you for that. One more question about the state of North Carolina regarding the Constitution Party's very own Don Blankenship. He is a candidate polling at 0.1% right now. Any thoughts on Don?
I can't say that I know too much about him, but I'm surprised that he's making appearance now that the president.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your input. Before you go, I want to ask you, final prediction for the election, who wins tonight? Or will we see a winner tonight?
I'm predicting Biden by a small margin, if anything. If I was going to go
Okay. That's very possible looking at the current map we have. I showed earlier the possible tie election, which would be probably the most 2020 thing to happen in 2020. All right, well, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, have a good evening.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. All right, another caller from Wisconsin, a key battleground state for both candidates. Up on the screen, I now have the state of Pennsylvania, where the president has drastically narrowed the vote count. It is currently a 50 to 45% race, where the president is trailing by approximately 5 points in the state of Pennsylvania. That down from the 60-point Biden lead the last time we checked. So as more of the rural areas of Pennsylvania have begun to report their votes, the president has caught up a little bit. Again, you see the areas of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and some of the suburbs of those counties sort of indicating that the vice president is holding on for the moment, but we will see. West Virginia obviously called for the president. Kentucky, same. Now, interesting thing about Kentucky is we have Mitch McConnell up for re-election. Many people thought it was going to be a very close race, but Senator McConnell was able to hold on pretty handedly in the race, and it wasn't even close. So most of the news networks actually called that race very quickly. That was unexpected. So I'm going to go back to the large map that we had. Electoral College. And here we have it again. Joe Biden with 131 electoral votes. Donald Trump with 92 at the moment. The state of Florida does, however, look like it is going to go to the president. So I would be pretty confident in saying that that goes into his column. The state of Georgia with 50% reporting. Again, the president with a 14-point lead. It looks like he will hang on there, but with 50% of the vote outstanding, it is still too early to call the state of Georgia. The state of Texas, the president has come out to a more substantial lead, about 2% lead in the state of Texas, with 67% of the votes in and counted for. Almost 9 million votes from the state of Texas thus far. In Florida, we have over 10 million votes in already, with 91% of the votes counted. So incredible voter turnout we have thus far. And if we look here at the popular vote, the president has actually expanded his popular vote lead to a 2.1% lead in the popular vote. Again, I've said it like 7 times now. As soon as California comes in, that's going to change very quickly. But it is an interesting indicator to see what that looks like at the current moment. And we'll see if later I'm able to compare the popular vote to the 2016 popular vote, because I believe at this point in the election, it looked relatively similar popular vote-wise. So that's interesting to see. And I believe that if the president is within 3 points of the vice president in the popular vote, he's likely to, he has a better than 50% chance of winning the presidency through the Electoral College. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, so very exciting. Hello from another Chris. Welcome. 7 people watching right now. Very exciting. This is like probably my most viewed live stream of all time. Other than maybe some pretty crazy ones back in the day. But, you know, we don't talk about those. Nah, I'm kidding. But
no scandals here. Don't love it.
No, there aren't any scandals here. Literally, I dare you to find one. Because you won't. Yeah, I mean, really. Yeah, you love politics? Yeah. I'm sure everybody loves politics. We actually have a sponsor called, what is it, Political Gummy Bears?
Yeah, we sure do.
Yeah, they are They come in 2 flavors, Republican cherry and Democrat blue raspberry. Okay, and this is pretty significant news. The state of South Carolina Senate race, Lindsey Graham versus his challenger from the Democratic Party. Lindsey Graham will hold on to the Senate seat in the state of South Carolina. That was going to be a very hotly contested Senate seat, and that's a big win for the Republican Party as they are looking to perhaps hold on to their Senate majority, which, depending on who wins the presidency, no matter who wins, they'd like to keep that majority, but especially if the president is unable to hold on to it. Currently, the president has a 1.4 million vote lead in the popular vote. Again, I'm going to say it again because it's kind of honestly, it's just funny at this point. As soon as California comes in, that will change quickly. I don't see the president coming close to the popular vote, but if he gets it within 3% of the vice president, then he has a very good chance of winning the White House via the Electoral College. The state of New York called for the former vice president. That's a real shocker. And so, yeah, I'd like to take a look at the state of Ohio, which voted for the president pretty heavily back in 2016. Surprisingly, compared to the polling data that was coming out of there, looked like it was going to be very close, but the president ended up winning by about 10% in 2016. It looks like with about 75% of the vote reported, the president is winning by approximately 2.6% in the state of Ohio, which is promising for the president. He needs Ohio to win re-election. And it looks like at the current moment, Michigan is continuing to break towards the president after another 10% of the vote is in. Still a 14-point lead for Donald Trump in the state of Michigan. State of Wisconsin, 32% reporting. Vice President narrowing it just a little bit. President still boasting a 4-point lead there, but it does look like the former vice president is coming closer in the state of Wisconsin, key battleground state. Now, if we take a look at the Electoral College, if we take a look at 2016's results, so I'm going to set this to what it was in 2016. That's, yep, 306 to 232. If the president is able to hold on to any one of the states here and maintain a lead in all of the states that he won in 2016, he will win. So Wisconsin, which is worth the fewest electoral votes out of all of them, of Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, if he holds on to Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, he will win the Electoral College if he holds on to every other state that he won, which at the moment looks like there is a decent chance that is the case. The one key state to look out for is Arizona, which is looking like it may swing towards the vice president. We're obviously waiting on results from that state. So if the president is able to hold all of the states, that would be a very impressive thing, go kind of against all the polling that we were expecting. But again, we can't even necessarily count on knowing who the president is going to be by the end of the night due to the high volume of mail-in ballots, specifically in the state of Pennsylvania, where it's a very new system, and it's expected that ballots will be counted several days after the election, perhaps even weeks. We will see. Now, an interesting thing here, if the president holds on to the state of Wisconsin, loses the state of Arizona and wins, shoot, what was I looking at? Never mind, pay no attention to that. I'm an idiot. Okay, Nebraska and Alabama. All right, so I think Donald Trump is going to win Alabama. It'll be close, but he's probably going to win. I get that vibe being down here in Alabama. It just seems like it's leaning that way at the moment. But we'll find out later, I guess. So we have, however, the state of Nebraska is actually an interesting one because Nebraska separates out their electoral votes by congressional district. So you won't actually have a single vote for Nebraska. And if we look at Nebraska here, we have to look at the Omaha area. If Omaha goes for Donald Trump, then he'll win all of Nebraska's electoral votes. However, polling suggested that he's likely to lose Nebraska's 2nd district, so he'll receive the majority of Nebraska's electoral votes, but he will lose one, and that will likely go to Joe Biden. We'll see if that continues to be the case right now. It looks like the president is leading in Nebraska with 38% of the vote in. We'll see by how much and breakdown by the congressional district later. So if we take a look, we got the state of Wyoming. 0% reporting has been called for Donald Trump with 0 votes in. Very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and call the state of California for Donald Trump as well. Obviously, that's a joke. Yeah. Yeah, that's a joke. It has 0% reporting as well, though, so I guess we have to say we don't know yet. Yeah, these 3, 100% going to the former Vice President, Joe Biden. Let's see if I can get a caller on the show. Yeah, FNN, Fresh News Network, okay? You better start watching it. This is the inaugural event, the 2020 election, so it's a big one to start off on. Always excited to have people joining in the conversation. So I'm calling another political correspondent of mine. He's actually part of the Trump campaign, I believe. Hello, welcome to the show.
Is this a live stream?
This is the live stream, indeed.
Am I on stream?
Yes, you are.
Oh my God. Are people watching?
Yes, we have 14 people watching right now.
Oh my God. Well, thank you guys. Is there anyone here?
All right, so Jimmy, welcome to the stream. Jimmy is a good friend of mine. He's also a pretty avid supporter of the president, and I want to get his opinion on the state of the race as well as.
I think we should call
Don't worry, it's just Jimmy. We don't actually know Jimmy's name. It's just Jimmy. Okay? It's just Jimmy. Alright? It's just Jimmy. Alright, so. Yep, you can call me that. Alright. Alright, so, Jimmy, what do you think of the state of the race?
I think the race was good, but I think I'm really behind the president.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm voting for is my mother back in the day, 20 years ago, like, she actually well know that. So that's why I actually like him. Because he always brought me up to the sun. He always wanted.
You're very. You would be a better son? You want the president to adopt you? Oh, you're the kid from Home Alone. Kevin McAllister? He was made based off of you. I think you were a bit younger than him when the movie came out, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah. Hello.
Give me
Oh. Well, I'm afraid I have to break it to you. You need to stop using that orange filter on Instagram then. All right, very interesting. Thank you for that take. Okay, so Jimmy, it looks like with 37% of the vote in, the president has a 4-point lead in Wisconsin. Do you think he holds on to that? Obviously, you're not a Wisconsin expert. We've spoken to several people from Wisconsin on the show. Do you think the president's going to hang on to that?
Well, considering that a large majority of the public vote in person later in the day we got large Republicans actually were, I think that Donald Trump will indeed hold up Wisconsin.
Okay.
I actually have a really interesting, I bet Donald Trump was Joe Biden has a heart attack and dies.
Okay, that's an interesting take. All right, well, that's certainly an interesting take. Funny thing, we actually had a bet here at FNN going. We had an over-under for the odds of one of the candidates dropping dead during the presidential debate. Yes. Hmm? No. More Jimmy. I just like making fun of Jimmy. That's okay. I know you're not Jimmy. I don't make fun of you, Grace. No, I didn't. I was making fun of Jimmy because he looks stupid with the orange filter. Yep. Yes. I might play Scribble.io tonight. We'll see.
Okay, perfect.
Presidential words only. That would be interesting.
Political word only.
Political words only. All right. Well, thank you for calling into the show, Jimmy. What do you think what's your final prediction?
Make sure to subscribe to Square. We have Fortnite gaming content, comic montages, Minecraft, Minecraft Zero, and my prediction is, I think Biden ends up with 212 electoral votes. Donald Trump will take the over and the kid this way. But it won't be for a couple days. That's my prediction.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for calling in. Have a good evening, Jimmy and Grace.
Thank you.
From the great state of Maryland. All right, very exciting. Pennsylvania, apparently there's some new data coming in, at least that's what I'm seeing from my chat. And it looks like in the state of Pennsylvania, with roughly 30% of the vote in, the president now has a 3-point or almost a 4-point lead in the state of Pennsylvania. So that is breaking towards him, which is not good for the former vice president if he's looking to carry that state. And again, if the president holds on to all the previous states that he had in 2016, that's going to be very difficult for that. Will Trump win Texas? What's my take there? So here we go. We're going to take a look at the overall map. Let's see. Texas. Yeah, I think Trump's going to win Texas. I wouldn't call it yet, but with 70% of the vote in, president with roughly a 3-point lead there, 250,000 votes, it's looking like that's going to be the case. The president's probably going to hold on to Texas. I wouldn't call it yet, but it does look to be that way. So yeah, very exciting. Yeah, let's see. Any new states coming in? Arizona, some polling looks like it is coming through. So we will take a look at the state of Arizona. And with 70% reporting in the state of Arizona, Joe Biden has a 10-point lead. So it's not looking good for the president to hold on to Arizona, but we will see. There's still 30% of the vote out, and the early vote likely came in first in Arizona. So as the night progresses, we may see that gap close. Again, it's only 220,000 votes. Take for Michigan with all the for all the mail-in votes. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure. I'm not really an expert on Michigan, but it looks like right now the president has a pretty solid lead. Now, if the mail-in votes come in a little bit later, then we could see that lead begin to wane. But with 33% of the votes in for Michigan, it looks promising for the president. I'll say that much. But I certainly would not count out the vice president, who still has a very solid chance of coming back in Michigan, especially with all of the votes there. Suburban women in Ohio are voting for Biden. I honestly think that Donald Trump struggles a lot with suburban women as a group, or not necessarily a lot, but definitely loses them to Joe Biden, oftentimes because of the way he presents himself. He's certainly a more aggressive and less palatable candidate than, say, a more polished politician that you might see in a typical presidential race. I think Joe Biden kind of seems like a safe candidate, kind of just like an overall nice guy. And so as a result, I think that's why suburban women across the country tend to think that the president is a little bit less palatable than the former vice president. Okay, so coming in from Michigan, there's a lot of signs up for Biden, but I've seen a lot of Trump stuff too. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see Michigan. Obviously, that's an important state that everybody's going to be trying to get. Again, the president has a roughly 5% lead or 4% lead in the state of Pennsylvania. That we could see that changing relatively rapidly if the mail-in votes begin to be counted. We'll see which way the state of Pennsylvania begins to break. I'd like to check back on Wisconsin because that's a key one to watch. 40% of the vote in, and it looks like the president has a 4.5-point lead in the state of Wisconsin. Spoken to several people from the state who have predicted that it's going to go to Biden. We will see how that looks in the end. I'd like to take a look over at the state of North Carolina, which for the majority of the night was looking like it was going to vote for the vice president, but with 90% reporting, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, has pulled ahead of former Vice President Joe Biden in the state of North Carolina, which was an important state for the president to hold on to if he were to keep his electoral majority that he had in 2016. At this point, it's looking like the trend is that the president is going to win the state of North Carolina. However, it's still too close to call. Now I'm going to pull over to the state of Ohio. Here we have Ohio, and the president has roughly a 5.5-point lead in the state of Ohio. Roughly 300,000 vote total. So we'll see how that is. 80% reporting. It looks like the president is likely going to hold on, as that has remained fairly steady as more votes have come in. But obviously we need to keep an eye on it, as it is a crucial swing state and essential for the president's re-election. And if the former Vice President Joe Biden, were able to take the state of Ohio, that could actually be crippling to the Trump campaign. So again, this is what the current leanings are. We'll likely see this change throughout the night as more votes come in. Specifically, I think Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, as the early votes begin to be counted, we'll see Joe Biden gain a little bit of ground on the president there, and likely, in my point of view, he'll likely overtake the president in at least Wisconsin and Michigan. But there's still a lot of time left in the night. Only 34% of the vote reported in Michigan, 38% in Wisconsin, and 30% in Pennsylvania. The president leading in all three. If we take a look at the state of Maine, currently the president has a small lead there, but it's nothing too significant with only 13% of the vote reporting. I think that the state of Maine is likely to go to the former Vice President Joe Biden. Now, there's an interesting race going on in Maine, Maine Senate race, where we have Representatives Susan Collins and Sarah Gideon fighting for a Senate seat in Maine. 13% of the vote is currently in Maine, and Susan Collins has a significant lead over the Democratic challenger for the seat that she's incumbent for. But if Senator Collins is able to hold on to that seat, it is considered to be a big win for the Republicans, as it means they'll likely hold on to their Senate majority, no matter who wins the presidency, especially with Senator Lindsey Graham holding on to his seat in South Carolina. Okay, 12 people watching. Very exciting. Yeah. And it looks like with 71% of the vote in, Vice President Biden is winning in the state of Arizona. So this is an interesting race to keep an eye on. If the president loses the state of Arizona, he would need to win 2 of the states here in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin and Michigan. So we'll see. This is actually Senate race. So Martha McSally versus Mark Kelly, 70% reporting. It looks like Mark Kelly, at least for the time being, has a pretty significant lead over the incumbent. So we'll keep an eye on that Senate race. That is a big one for the Republicans as well. If they're able to win that race, which they are predicted not to by the polls, it would be a pretty big gain for the Republicans. Some counties in Wisconsin ran out of ballots. That's interesting. I don't know. I haven't heard about that. So yeah, here we have the overall electoral map. Currently 131 for former Vice President Joe Biden, 98 for Donald Trump. President with a 1.9% lead in the total vote right now, in the popular vote. As I always say, that's going to change as soon as California begins to start reporting results. It's very likely to change, especially considering the president has actually a fairly wide percentage lead in the popular vote. So yeah. Okay, apparently we have a pretty heated debate going on about crabs, lobsters, shrimp, all sorts of shellfish. I haven't had all of it, but I actually like Bass Bites Fishing's ranking right there of the, shellfish debate. So there we go. That's all good and interesting. So yeah, just waiting for more results to come in. Not too much action happening right now. We'll continue to keep an eye on these 3 states, very crucial for both campaigns. President with a surprising lead in Michigan, but again with only 35% of the vote in. Expect to see that lead decline. In the state of Ohio, 80% reporting the president with a 6-point lead in Ohio, roughly. It looks like he's going to hold on in the state of Ohio, but it is still too close to call. The state of Florida looks like it's going to go to the president, 91% in. All indications are he's going to win the state of Florida at this point. Texas, now with 70% reporting the president increasing his lead over the former vice president to now 300,000 vote lead in the state of Texas, is looking increasingly like the president is going to win the state of Texas. Okay, so if we looked at this before the election, this is what the polls were showing, giving the president roughly a 10% chance of winning the presidency. However, if we did give the president the state of Florida, which is likely to go for the president at this point, it looks like it will, that immediately increased the president's chances to 33 in 100. If we give the state of Ohio to the president, 40. Which is looking like that's the case. Looks like the state of Arizona is okay, and some new news out of North Carolina. President's lead has expanded, but still very small margin, 26,000 votes. So right now, I think these odds are relatively accurate for the likelihood of all these events happening. 269 tie looks like, according to 538, under my current predictions, there's like a 2% chance that that is the result of the election. So the president, still the underdog. However, it does look significantly better for him than it did at the beginning of the night when you look at all the polling data. House might have to decide on it? Yeah. That would certainly be interesting. And for those of you who missed my explanation earlier, if there is an electoral college tie, the House of Representatives chooses the President of the United States, but it doesn't work like a direct vote. Each state gets one vote, and the representatives from that state determine who the state is voting for. So, for example, the state of California would get together and say, this is the candidate that California is representing, and California would get one vote. So that's what you'd have there. And the Senate would decide on the Vice President of the United States. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. You could have some crazy scenario where the president is either President Trump or former Vice President Biden, and the other candidate is actually the vice president, which would be super weird. Very unlikely to happen because of the makeup of the country. It's likely that even though the Democrats have a pretty wide majority in the House of Representatives, that's mostly due to kind of, I would call, deep blue states like California, Oregon, Washington, Maryland, states like that, New York. So I think that likely President Trump would win in a House of Representatives vote. The Republicans could afford to lose. I think the last I heard, they could lose 2 or 3 of their own states that they have a majority in the House in, and the president would still win that. Yeah, and then the vice president would likely be Mike Pence if that was the case. because the Senate gets to decide and would likely vote along party lines as they do oftentimes. So that's what we have there. Let's take a look. 36% reporting in Michigan. President Trump still up 12% there. Again, we'll see more votes begin to trickle in throughout the night, maybe over the coming days, and that could change the state of that race. 42% of the vote in Wisconsin. President with a 5-point lead in Wisconsin, actually widening his lead a little bit there. Roughly 70,000 votes ahead in Wisconsin. We'll see if that changes throughout the night. 15% reporting in Maine. President with a 6% lead there. Again, expect to see that change. And then the state of Arizona, which is one the president had visited several times and was actually looking to try and compete in. It looks as if the former vice president has a significant advantage there with 73% of the vote in and an 8.7% lead. Again, though, it is only it's about a 200,000 vote gap currently, so we could see that changing, but it is unlikely to see that change. It seems as if the former vice president is going to maybe hold on to the state of Arizona, which means it is essential for President Trump to hold on to all of the other states that he won in 2016, especially these states here in the Rust Belt. 90% of the vote in Iowa. We have Joe Biden with a 60% of the vote. Again, expect to see that change. I think the president is likely going to win the state of Iowa, and I think you'll see it shift that way more throughout the night. So yeah. Right now the count has shifted. On here it says 131 to 98. According to some other sources, 129 to 109 right now. Either way, it's very close at this point in the race. Expect, however, to see Florida called relatively soon. We'll see as it advances throughout the night. Texas relatively soon as well, and that could swing the president well ahead of Joe Biden in those states. Georgia, which we were looking at pretty intently for a while, seems to be swinging heavily towards Donald Trump at the moment. With 60% of the vote in, he has a 12-point lead in the state of Georgia. Just unexpected. Okay, what's going to happen in Arizona? Well, I think the state of Arizona at this point looks like it's likely going to go to Joe Biden. However, depending on how much of the vote is the early vote versus how much is in person, we have yet to see. You see this county here. I believe typically it goes red, whereas you have Phoenix, Tucson, and this northern county, they typically go blue. So as more votes come in, I think the president will tighten the race in Arizona. I don't know if he will close the gap with 73% reporting. Yeah, so that's exciting.
Natalie, I'm going to start with you because it looks like in Florida, and we can't call anything there yet. Fox News not doing it yet. But how much work do Democrats need to do with the Latino voters? Not monolithic group, any of us are people of color. We know that. But Biden is missing the mark so much more than even Hillary Clinton.
All right, I'll be back in just a second.
Like you said, we're not a monolith. There are Cubans, I'm sure you're familiar with line of Cubans, usually Republican, Puerto Ricans, or Democrats, and we've actually seen a huge turnout of Puerto Ricans tonight. And I think, the thing is that, people expect demographic change to happen in the general receiving centers for immigrants. So New York, Miami, Los Angeles, that kind of thing. But we actually have a lot of growth in like North Carolina, Alabama, Michigan, those centers don't really think about, traditional centers of Latinos. And so I think, there's particular voting block.
Okay.
The Democrats they're probably missing on the bank for the most important.
So I think the next state that's likely to be called is probably going to be Florida. If you look at Florida, the president has a pretty significant lead. With 91% of the vote in, I don't see Vice President Biden catching up to President Trump in Florida. Georgia, we were watching pretty intently to see what that was going to look like. It looks like it's swinging heavily towards Donald Trump with 60% of the vote in. The key areas to look for were these urban areas to see if there was a very high turnout, which on election day it did not appear as if there were. There were some photos taken where there were not many people in line even. So I've heard, at least from people in the chat. Yeah, I do think they should probably call Florida. It does not look like there's going to be any way for Joe Biden to win Florida at the current moment. President Trump currently up 1.8 million votes in the popular vote. We'll likely see that change. But if the president were to win the popular vote, I would be very surprised. So don't expect that. Arizona's actually been kind of surprising to me tonight. I expected it to be a little bit closer at this point, but again, depending on how much of the vote is the early vote, how much is in person, we could see that shift relatively quickly. It's looking like it's going to be a very tight race in Arizona, so we've got to keep an eye on it. Wisconsin, almost 50% reporting. Vice President Biden closing the gap a little bit in Wisconsin. It's likely going to be pretty close race there as well. Take a look at Michigan with almost 40% now reporting, 12% lead for Donald Trump. Pennsylvania, President Trump with a 8-point lead, 35% reporting. However, the early votes are likely going to come in later in the state of Pennsylvania, so we will see how that goes throughout the night and perhaps even throughout the coming days and weeks. Ohio with 83% reporting looks like it's going to go to the president. However, we cannot call it at this time. Not enough data quite yet. North Carolina, we were looking at very intently for a long time because Joe Biden came out to a very strong lead at the beginning, but that lead has waned to the point where the president has taken an actual lead in North Carolina, and that lead has grown as more votes have come in. I think it's relatively safe to say that the president is likely going to win North Carolina. So he holds on to pretty much all the states in the South that he needed to win in order to get his reelection. So that's promising for the president at the moment, and I'm sure the campaign is feeling confident about that. However, the Biden campaign probably feeling pretty good about how Arizona is looking at the moment. We will see if it ends up being kind of like North Carolina, where the vote quickly converges. But with the vice president out to really an 8, almost 9-point lead with 73% of the vote in, it's likely going to go to the former vice president. Obviously too early to call, though, and I predict that as the night goes on, we will see Arizona becoming a closer and closer race. Currently, the Democrats have gained 1 Senate seat in the Senate elections right now. I'm not sure which one it is. I'm just seeing that on one of my other screens. And they need plus 3 or 4. Gosh, I should know that. The Senate race. Okay, and it looks like currently we have this going on. South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, projected winner. North Carolina, Tom Tillis is actually pulling ahead of Cal Cunningham, and that's a crucial race for the Republicans. An important one for them to win. With 91% of the vote in at this time, that will likely hold. However, That's certainly subject to change. Still a very close race there. Susan Collins in Maine has a relatively large lead at this point. However, it's not necessarily a guarantee there. Michigan, John James winning currently, but expect that to tighten as the night goes on. Kansas, Roger Marshall holding on against Barbara Bollier. Louisiana is looking like the Republican candidate is in the lead. And in Mississippi, the Republican candidate pretty heavily in the lead with 30% reporting. Martha McSally losing in the incumbent losing in Arizona. Again, that could be an indicator of how the presidential race goes. However, there was kind of a conventional wisdom that there was going to be some split tickets in Arizona, and it was going to be kind of weird like that. Martha McSally is the incumbent, so the Republicans would lose a seat in that instance. The state of Alabama, Senator Doug Jones is projected to lose the election, and Tommy Tuberville will be the next senator for the state of Alabama. That was a race that the Republicans expected to win, and it looks like they are going to do so. So, very good. Good results coming in. Both campaigns probably looking at this. And it looks like the state of Utah has just been called to for President Trump. 64% of the vote in, and a 15-point lead for the president. So the current standings would be 131 to 108 for Joe Biden in the lead right now. Again, if we look at the popular vote, president, roughly 2 million vote lead right now. The key races to look at are these. Iowa currently with 40% of the vote in, Joe Biden with an 18-point lead, Arizona with 73% of the vote in, an 8-point lead for Joe Biden. Again, keep an eye on those to tighten throughout the night, as President Trump was expected widely to win the state of Iowa. It's a state he won by almost 10 points in 2016, so expect to see that race tighten pretty quickly as more votes come in. Arizona, I would expect to see tighten as well. However, it does look very promising for the Biden campaign at this moment in time. Here, we're going to look at the Rust Belt again. Almost 50% of the vote in. President Trump leading in Wisconsin, but it's a very close race still. Michigan with almost 40%. President up substantially, but mail-in ballots going to be a key factor to watch there. Pennsylvania, obviously, mail-in ballots are going to be crucial. The president has a relatively wide lead right now, but expect to see that go down throughout the night as more votes are counted to be a much closer race in the state of Pennsylvania.
Now, the betting market gives Donald Trump a 65% chance of winning, so you've got a real switch there. If you look at the stock market, we're looking at a continuing strong rally. The NASDAQ, for example, that's not all the popular and big name technology companies. That is up 3.5%.
Okay, so this just in, I'm hearing this now. The betting markets give President Trump 65% chance of victory with the new results that are coming in as they are. So that's a swing heavily in favor of the president as far as that's concerned. Obviously, that's not what matters, though. What matters is the Electoral College and the votes in these key states: Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina. North Carolina looks like the president is probably going to hold on there. His lead's expanded to really 1% solid. Georgia with 61% in, president with a substantial lead there. Florida, again, looks like the president is going to win Florida. Texas now with 71% reporting. president with a 4-point lead, roughly, in the state of Texas. I think, for the most part, everybody expected Texas to go red. There were a few outliers to that. Some people thought that it could be a year that Texas actually switched and swung towards Joe Biden. However, I think for the most part, everybody expected Texas to go red, and it looks like it is trending that way at the moment. We're still waiting for a lot of races to be called and for the polls to close and for votes to begin being counted on the West Coast. California, Nevada, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. And of course Alaska and Hawaii. Alaska's going to go red probably. Hawaii is probably going to go blue. I really don't see those switching at all. Nevada is an interesting one to look at. It's really, I would say, the swingiest state on the West Coast. So I'd keep an eye on that. The president spent a decent amount of time campaigning in Nevada. So that's definitely a place to keep an eye out on as he tries to flip that from one of the, because Nevada was a state that went to Hillary Clinton back in 2016.
He's entertained the idea of more lockdowns. That is not popular with investors. They don't want to see that. They want to see growth and prosperity, and you get that by opening up. And so what you've got now is a stock market that's looking at a very significant gain in the middle of the evening, even though so many races are just far too close to call. And we're in Pennsylvania, let's say, you're probably going to have to wait until the next couple of days to get a result out of that. Nonetheless, investors like what they see and are pushing stock prices higher at this moment. That could all change, of course. That's what happens on the market. But as of now, investors are putting their money into stocks and stock gains are holding.
Thank you, Stuart. So the Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will defeat President Trump in New Hampshire. Put that up and
Okay, New Hampshire just called for Joe Biden. I think that was widely expected. So, yeah.
You know, New Hampshire was a state that the president lost by
I think the real states you gotta watch, again, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. At this point, those are the states that are looking like they're going to be in play here. And I'm going to try and get a map up here, so if things stay the same, then as they are right now, Maine, who's leading Maine? Maine, Trump is leading. I don't expect that to stay that way, but let's say it does. It's not worth many electoral votes anyway. Let's say that. And we'll put these as swing states. And this is very likely what's going to happen at this point. Joe Biden needs to win. Joe Biden cannot lose Pennsylvania. If he does, he loses the election. He has to win Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan in order to get to 266. He'd actually need to win all four of the states. Wow. In order to win the election. So that's definitely an interesting development. Again, I don't expect Maine to go for the president, but as things stand, this is what it would look like if the election ended right now and all votes stopped being counted. This is what it looks like. 298 to 240. So, again, expect that to change. I don't expect this to be the final thing. But if Joe Biden wins Arizona, he also needs to win Michigan and Pennsylvania if everything else were to stay the same at the moment. So, yeah.
same day that Tillis comes down with COVID. And what happened? Tillis put the step on the gas in order to campaign. How did council do it? Went silent. They didn't answer questions or anything. So it's almost like he sat on that lead and he watched it fade. And to the point about New Hampshire, I actually thought that Trump would be able to win New Hampshire, given that he'd only lost by 2,700 votes, and there was so much enthusiasm up there for him. But think about what the campaign manager Bill Stepien did for President Trump. Takes a look at that and says, that might not work. But where did they focus? Way down in Florida. And you think about Donna Shalala, who is the former Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then she's a congresswoman. She lost her seat tonight for Democrat. And Maria Salazar, the Republican challenger.
Mail-in in Florida was counted early, actually. So, don't expect the Florida vote to change much. I think I saw one of the news outlets had them. Trump has a 95% chance of winning Florida at this point. So, I'd say that's pretty solid. I would even call the state for him. So, obviously, Arizona, I think, is interesting. I'm genuinely surprised at how heavily this is going towards Joe Biden, but we haven't seen a ton of the vote come in recently for Arizona. It's been kind of stagnant at 73%, so we'll see that change likely. I'm not sure. I think Arizona, it might be split into 2 different time zones, which would mean that as a result of that, the polls would close later in some places, or perhaps, I don't know what's going on in this county here. Why don't we have any of the votes there? Some delay, I guess, but that's what we have right now.
And we may be seeing some of that reflected. The question is that where are those mail-in ballots? They can exist if, in fact, turnout is up, as we believe, on both the Republican and Democratic. But I still think that there was a question in some of these states about the actual 2000.
The great California flip.
The difference in the vote is less than that. Correct, and that's why if this night, to me, feels like that.
So yeah, very close election. I figured it would be. We're just gonna have to wait and see how things go.
Easy Biden victory is off the board, but that was one of 3 scenarios. The other scenario was a narrow Biden win and a narrow Trump win, and those votes are still absolutely open. And while it sure looks like Biden is going to lose Florida, the fact that the Fox News decision team hasn't called Florida yet says to me, maybe it's a small margin, but it's still up for grabs. The fact that North Carolina is too close to call, Georgia is, because of the regularities, we haven't really gotten anything firm on Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin or Arizona.
Okay, Ohio, I'm seeing 88% reporting. Donald Trump with a 7-point lead with 88% of the vote in. So that's looking like it's going to be pretty solid for Donald Trump. I don't see him losing Ohio at this point. I guess they are calling Ohio, but I'd say it's probably going to go Trump. At that point, that's just what it looks like. Still not too much change in these states. Pennsylvania, a little bit more reporting. Around 40% of the votes in. Trump with a 12-point lead in the state of Pennsylvania. Again, we're waiting on early votes there, so expect that to narrow as time goes on.
And we still have a part, right?
We have not. But somebody on the Florida, but I have to take it back 20 years.
Yep, refreshing the page. It's still looking the same right now. So yeah, that's what we got right now in the swing states. Arizona. I really didn't expect this out of Arizona. I expected it to be a lot closer. But we will see if that race tightens throughout the night. It's likely that it will, but will it be enough for President Trump to carry the state of Arizona? We gotta wait and see, I guess. 73% of the vote in there, so it could change, but it needs to change pretty significantly.
Here's your A1 state.
Oh, my A1 state's under 7.
And you may lose weight. Adults who took Ozempic lost on average up to 12 pounds.
I lost almost 12 pounds.
Oh, for those also with known heart disease, Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as heart attack, stroke, or death.
It lowers the risk. Oh, and I only have to take it once a week. Oh.
Ozempic is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not share needles or pens. Don't reuse needles. Do not take Ozempic if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Ozempic. Stop taking Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, itching, rash, or trouble breathing. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Tell your doctor if you have diabetic retinopathy or vision changes. Taking Ozempic with sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Common side effects are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, and constipation. Some side effects can lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
Once weekly Ozempic is helping me reach my blood sugar goal.
You may pay as little as $25 for a 1-month or 3-month prescription. Ask your healthcare provider today about once weekly Ozempic.
Because I slightly multiple individual customized projects. Let them pay for what they need. Got it? Did you get that? Only pay for what you need.
CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist recommended heart health supplement for people taking cholesterol-lowering statins. I recommend Qunol CoQ10 because it has 3 times better absorption than regular. Qunol is the brand I trust.
Back here on election night, let's go back to November with a look at where we stand right now. Last place is still waiting for us.
I'd say there's so much action on this board. I just give a spin here in Pennsylvania right now. I mentioned a few moments ago, the Trump team thinks that the blue-collar worker is coming home in Pennsylvania, northeastern corner of the state here. There was some evidence that's happening, although it's still a little bit earlier. A lot more in the county skewing on it. It's got so much attention with Stratton, PA. Joe Biden was there. Donald Trump has been there as well. So it can pop around right here. Luzerne is one of the counties where President Clinton in Pennsylvania 2016 and then Joe Biden there. So just watching all this now develop, Pittsburgh in the west, Philadelphia down here in the southeast. There are at least 6 counties, by the way, I think it's 7 total, that have said they will not count mail ballots tonight. And all of those counties were won easily by Donald Trump in 2016. I've got a ton of votes here, but they go right along the border here with Ohio. Greene County's going to wait till tomorrow. Beaver County's going to wait as well. Mercer County also, we get 73% of vote in that county. So we're going to see a little of this action tomorrow roll in from some of these counties that said we don't have enough poll workers to run the booths today to make sure that the vote goes smoothly, and that's why they said we're going to punt on the mail ballots until tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. I mentioned the blue-collar worker. I think this is fascinating, guys. We talked about it earlier. Just want to double back a little bit to a moment here in northeastern Ohio. Here's what I want to show you.
Okay.
It just changed everything. In 2016, we knew Trump was in the lead. When northeastern Ohio was flipping. In 2012, it was all
right, next polls are closing in 5 minutes, but I am going to call it a night for the live stream right now. This is going to be a really long live stream anyway. But thank you all for watching, making it an interesting stream. If I know you, I'll probably still be talking to you throughout the night. I'll answer one more question. What's up with Pennsylvania? Okay, Pennsylvania, 42% of the votes in. However, the mail-in vote is going to come in a little bit later, so we aren't going to see the true numbers of Pennsylvania until later. However, some of the states, or some of the counties, including this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, have said that the early votes will not be counted until tomorrow because they don't have enough election workers. Because they don't have enough poll workers, but these counties actually went heavily towards Donald Trump. But again, we'll see the mail-in vote coming in late in the state of Pennsylvania, so expect that Trump lead to narrow as the night goes on. We'll see. I might be back on later with some updates, but thank you all for showing up for the stream. It's been really a good time having you all and being able to talk. So, yeah. It's very cool, this little thing. That's my OBS. Okay, adios.